Hello, I'm Andrea Bauer. I'm member of the League of Women Voters of the Greater Dayton area. I'm here today with the candidates running for Fairborn City Council. The candidates are Rodney C. McCubbins, Brian Dodd, Jimmy Baker, and Mary Reister. Jimmy Baker and Mary Reister were unable to join us due to prior commitments. We will start our interviews by giving the candidates 1 minute to tell us about themselves and why they want to serve on the Fairborn City Council. So we'll begin with Rodney McCubbins.
Good afternoon, Andrea, and thank you for the invitation to join today. My name is Rodney McCubbins, and I am a lifelong resident of the city of Fairborn. I was born and raised there, sans the 26 years that I spent away as a military member. However, when I retired in 2012, I moved back. Married, have 3 children, 2 grandchildren, and they all live in the Fairborn area. I want to run for city council as for re-election, as the first 4 years were very fruitful. However, we still have a lot of work to do. So I want to stay on council so we can continue what we've already started, especially with our economic development strategic plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCubbins. And Brian Dodd, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to run for Fairborn City Council.
Thank you for inviting me for this. I'm a little bit nervous. This is the first time I've done this, but I moved to Fairborn in 2012 after serving in the military and working as a licensed land surveyor in California. As soon as I got here, I had a friend introduced me to the Parks and Recreation Board. So I got really involved in that for 6 years. And then I was on the planning board for another 6 years. I believe that with my background, that I would be able to help the city of Fairborn. And we both, my wife and myself, we both enjoy living here and everything that it encompasses. Thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Dodd. We are now going to move on to a series of 3 questions, and you will each have 2 minutes to speak to each one of the questions. And then I will move on to the next candidate and give them 2 minutes to respond. So the first question is, what do you see as the biggest challenges facing the city? And we'll begin with Rodney McCubbins.
Yes, thank you again, Andrea. There are many challenges facing not just our city, but other cities as well. I'd say public safety is #1 challenge that we all have, and that comes in the form of recruiting and retaining our first responders. It's a very competitive career field, and recruiting and keeping these folks on board is pretty tough. Another big challenge that we have is the economic development. And where we need to focus there is twofold. One is to maintain the current businesses that we have in the city, as well as find ways to attract new businesses and jobs. And a third challenge that we have that's very important is our aging infrastructure and housing. Over 32% of our housing stock was built prior to 1960, and 60% of it was built prior to 1970. So we have a very aging housing market out there. So we have a need for more housing and more current housing. So we've implemented some strategies to help us with that right there as well, such as the community reinvestment and infill projects. Aging infrastructure is also a major issue, and we've seen this predominantly over the last 2 years with a lot of our water line breaks. So focusing on the infrastructure is going to be another challenge in the next 4 years as well.
Thank you very much, Mr. McCubbins. And Brian Dodd, the same question. What do you see as the biggest challenges facing the city?
Well, I agree with Rodney on a lot of what he said, but also I see is that we need to make sure that the citizens and the staff are working together, and we need to try to get more citizens involved in our city government and in our boards and activities. There's a lot of activities that go on in Fairborn, and we need to try to get as much city involvement in the as we can. The economic development is also a very critical part of our city. We need to move forward in working with local individuals, and we need to work with the local staff, with our city staff, and see what we can do. Also, we need to come up with activities for our youth. Our Parks and Recreation Department is, I believe, one of the best in the area, but there's always room for improvement, and we need to keep the kids active and in some ways something to do at all times. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dodd. And the second question is, what should the city council do to address the housing needs in the city? And Brian Dodd, we're going to start with you. So what should the city council do to address the housing needs in the city?
Well, I was very fortunate to be on the 2024 Comprehensive Land Use Plan update, and I believe that was the first step in moving forward and doing what needs to be done in the city. We need to identify areas that need or could use economic growth, and we need to identify those areas that are good for businesses, those areas that are good for housing, and we need to continue with our economic growth the best we can.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dodd. And Rodney McCubbins, I would like to ask the same question. What should the city council do to address the housing needs in the city?
Yes, ma'am. Well, city council's primary role, according to our charter, is more of a legislative in nature. So this is a multi-pronged approach, I think, to help address the needs. One of them is we actively pursue our community development block grants to get funding from the federal government so we can assist homeowners or prospective homeowners into getting into homes. Another avenue that we can use to address is the vacant lots that we have. As I said, most of our housing was built prior to 1970, so we have a lot of older housing stock, but there's also a lot of vacant lands from a big push that previous city councils have done to get rid of blight. So a lot of times those lands come back into the city coffers, and what we've done is turn those over to our Fairborn Development Corporation to sell off to developers for infill projects. So they will refill those empty lots with housing. Another strategy was we worked with consultants, two different consultants on the comprehensive land use plan that Brian was talking about. And part of that effort was to look at our zoning and change some of our zoning laws to make them a little bit more current and maybe more developer friendly so we can spawn that economic development. And recently, we just expanded our community reassessment initiative to include housing in an effort to spawn some more developers to come in, specifically looking at the infill lots.
Thank you very much, Mr. McCubbins. And we're going to move on then to our last question, which is describe the skills and experience you will bring to the city council. And Rodney McCubbins, we're going to start with you. So we're looking at skills and experience that you will bring to the city council.
Yes, ma'am. I'll start off with the skills that I have learned in the military, and we focus a lot of our skills in professional military education on leadership and management skills, along with all the different levels of professional military education that I attended. I also have a associate's degree in pharmaceutical technology and a bachelor's degree in organizational management. I've also been involved in the city. I began my involvement in the city in 2013 through what's called the Neighborhood Betterment Committee, and that's where we looked at housing stock and what we could do for current homeowners that are under the poverty level and making home improvements to their house. And went from that, I attended the Fairborn Citizens Academy, where you learn all about what a full service city does and see the inner workings so you understand how a city works together in all the departments. Then I served on planning board for 3 years. And after serving on planning board and learning, taking all the classes and learning about the zoning and stuff there, was fortunate to win an election on city council. And since being on city council, I learned a whole ton of operations on the city side of the house that has enhanced my already skill set to better serve the citizens, such as the Greene County Regional Planning Board, the Fairborn Development Committee, and other projects that we've gotten involved in. So I've amassed a good skill set that I think would serve the city real well.
Thank you very much, Mr. McCubbins. And that same question goes to Brian Dodd. Describe the skills and experiences you will bring to the city council.
Thank you. I served like Rodney. We served in the service, and that has taught us a lot of the management skills. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in surveying engineering, and after graduation from college, I started working for large engineering companies as a project manager in the surveying department. And I've learned how to work with different people, with different developers. And while I was doing that, I was also in the Army Reserves as a chief warrant officer. My last duty assignment, I was in San Diego, and I was in charge of 8 different detachments across the United States. So I've learned how to time manage what needed to get done. I've also learned how to deal with different people from different regions. And I've also learned how to get things accomplished. I was very good at doing what I was doing in geospatial. Upon retiring and moving to Fairborn, I have got very involved. I also started in 2013 getting very involved in the city. I started with the Parks and Recreation, and I was part of that for 6 years, I believe, 4 or 5 years anyway. And at the end, I was the chairman of that board. I then went to the planning board and worked on it for 6 years, and was at the end, the last 2 years, I was the chairman of the planning board. So I've learned how to deal with the city and with individuals coming to the city to get things accomplished. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you both for answering the questions. We're now going to move on to closing remarks. And we would like to give you each a minute for your closing statement. And we'll begin with Rodney McCubbins.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this today, and to the citizens of Fairborn. I come to you asking for your vote again so I can serve on City Council for another 4 years so we can finish what we've started. It's been my absolute pleasure to serve the city, and I hope to continue to serve the city for another 4 years, not just in City Council, but after that in more other extensive roles. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. McCubbins. And Brian Dodd, your closing statement, please.
I also would like to thank the League of Women Voters for this opportunity, and the citizens of Fairborn for giving me the opportunity. This is the first time that I have ever tried for elected office, but I do believe that I have the background and the ability to help the city grow forward. I think in the past, the city council has done what they can, but I think I could really help them move forward. And I ask for their vote. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you both for participating. Good luck in your campaigns. The League of Women Voters encourages all candidates to run an issue-based campaign. Our goal is to educate the voting public and to strengthen our elective political process. Our annual Voters Guide will be distributed beginning the first week of October in the Dayton Daily News, the Ames Media publications, and local libraries and businesses. The last day to register to vote for the for the general elections is October 6th. And early voting begins on October 7th at your Board of Elections, or you can request an absentee ballot. However you decide to vote, your opinion matters and helps make our democracy work.